The Empire Strikes Back. Now, there is a bold and exciting title with a bold and exciting movie to match up with it. This is the fifth episode in the Star Wars series, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. A lot of people would cite this as one of the best sequels, if not the best sequel, ever made, and I'm inclined to agree with that. I mean, as much as I love the first movie, I do, I personally prefer the first movie, to be honest, but, I mean, it's undeniable that this continues the story that we saw in the first film in a way that raises the stakes and makes it an even grander experience and develops the characters further, giving them deeper motivations and just expands the universe in a way and makes this all the more of a grander adventure, really. And this is, the midpoint in the original trilogy, so there's a lot of unexpected things that happen, for those who haven't watched the movie 5 million times, like I have and most other fans have. But really brings things to kind of, a dark territory, which for a movie that maybe would at least originally be considered, this kind of a kid's movie, kind of a family-friendly kind of thing, takes it to some dark places, which I liked. Takes place sometime after the first movie, where we have the trio of friends. We have Han, Luke, Leia, and of course the Wookiee and the droids and the whole Rebel Alliance, and they're kind of fighting together. Meanwhile, Han Solo, he's a little worried because there's still a price on his head from Jabba the motherfucking Hutt, who's after him and wants his ass. So there's some tension there, but meanwhile, there's a bigger picture. The Empire is after the Rebel Alliance, and they track them down to their setup in the snow planet of Hoth. So the first section of the movie, it contains this great battle with these snow speeders fighting against the Empire. One of the most impressive action spectacles in the series. Impressive mainly due to the fact that, at the time with optical effects and stuff like that, they were just pretty much foolish to do it against such like a white backdrop, which you even see like some of the making of special features, things like that. And like, what were we thinking? And with some of the improvements on the special edition, they kind of went over some, like cockpit shots where you can kind of see some translucency in the opticals. So, here's some proof that the special editions have done some good. But it's just a great choreographed battle with, the speeders moving along in circles with the lions among those walkers and making them fall and stuff like that. And I do appreciate it for all its technical merits, but part of me thinks it's silly that this evil empire has these kind of stupid machines, these stupid battle vehicles that are so impractical. Like, let's make a tank, but make it look like a camel or something like that. Like, what do they think? That's why the fucking Empire lost. They made these stupid vehicle designs. You just figure someone in this Star Wars universe is designing these these battle vehicles and drawing up schematics. Like, see, look, not bad, huh? And Darth Vader's like, yes, very good. I don't know, but I think it's a great way to start the movie because it's similar to what we saw at the very end of the first Star Wars movie. So it's kind of as if to say, hey, we're giving you something similar, but of course very different. And this is to prepare you. You ain't seen nothing yet. We're going to do some other great stuff here, and we're going to open with the ship battle as opposed to close with it. So there's a lot more to come in the movie, and I think once it kind of gets past that, and we have basically our little our fellowship has been split up. So we have Luke on his own with R2-D2. He's after he's beaten up by the Yeti, or fuck, what is it called? Bantha. The Bantha, the Snow Bantha, Womback. I don't know. I'm not good with the Star Wars names. I'm sorry. Anyway, he gets the abominable snowman, kills him. No, it doesn't kill him. It beats him up, and because apparently Mark Hamill, he was in a car accident in real life, so they kind of worked something like that into the movie or whatever. But anyway, he decides, after seeing a vision of Obi-Wan Kenobi, his ghost, she's like, you will go to the Dagobah system and train with Yoda. And so he's like, okay. So he does. So him and R2-D2 are out there in Dagobah, and We have Han Solo, C-3PO, Chewbacca, and Princess Leia in the Millennium Falcon trying to get away from the Empire, and barely doing so. And I think that's, the whole movie is, this, aside from Luke going on Dagobah and doing his training, the whole other side of that is it's this chase movie. I think it's, really well done in that way. It's this whole pursuit, and kind of the running element of the plot that it keeps on going back to, and we keep on kind of biting our fingernails about, is when are they going to get the hyperdrive on the Millennium Falcon to work? And Han Solo's like, oh, don't worry, I'll fix it. And meanwhile, no. It's like, oh, okay, prepare to make the jump to light speed. Light speed? Light speed. No, it doesn't work. Oh, it's not fair. Whatever. But meanwhile, that whole time, there is this romantic relationship evolving between Han Solo and Princess Leia, which I think brings the movie to a whole different level, and it does make it, in addition to this grand space opera, it does make it a love story, which I think they fit it in just perfectly. And sometimes, look at Attack of the Clones, sometimes it just doesn't work and doesn't feel right, but this is just perfect. And of course, with the first movie, there's a slight element of possibly it being this potential love triangle, but of course, in hindsight, we know better. We know that Han and Leia are just meant to be. And Luke is her brother, and she probably shouldn't have kissed him twice. But, whatever. It's, a great chemistry between the two actors, two characters. To stop the whole movie short with that one scene where it's like, oh, I like nice men, I don't like scoundrels or whatever. Oh, you need a little more scoundrel in your life, and I think it works great, and I think it is a great love story. And, it all kind of amounts to at the very end where it's that classic. It's a classic scene in any movie, not just a Star Wars movie, where Han is about to be frozen in carbonite. They do one last kiss, and it's like they're in this facility that's like all these bright glowing colors, and it looks beautiful, and they're embracing, and then the stormtrooper pulls him away. She's like, I love you. He's like, I know. And that's just a classic moment, and like that brings chills to me. I think it's just so well done. So I do think this is a sequel that brings a lot more probably human elements and just fantastical elements too. Like the whole aspect of the Force is extended quite a bit here. With the first movie, they do it at a breakneck pace. Like, oh, it's like, oh, use the Force. Just trust your feelings. Whatever. Here, we get all this devotion to the Yoda character, which a great character, Yoda. I mean, Frank Oz doing the voice of Yoda. I mean, Star Wars as a whole has just such great voice work. We have Frank Oz as Yoda, James Earl Jones as Darth Vader, just spectacular. We'll get to that in a moment. But anyway, Yoda, this puppet. I mean, you will believe a puppet is a real person in this movie. I mean, really, like this little man. And I love the fact that he starts off as, this little kind of troublemaker. Luke doesn't really know what to make of him. He's like, oh, bring you to Yoda, I will. Give me your food, whatever. Then all of a sudden, there's this great scene where he's in Yoda's hut. In Yoda's hut. And it is revealed that he is, in fact, this great Jedi Master, Yoda. He's like, you're the great warrior? Wars not make one great. It is a wonderful and magical scene. And their training together is so great. And how he talks about all the stuff. It is still generic kind of stuff. Luminous beings are we, not made of this crude matter. Do or do not, there is no trial. All that kind of stuff. It is generic, but I think it has its wisdom to it too. So I mean, without being too specific, not like, oh, midichlorians, yes. No, thank you. So those scenes with Luke training with Yoda, they're just spectacular. And I would think, though I can barely remember my own mindset as a kid, even with scenes like that, which aren't, like big action scenes, I think they are just colorful enough to keep the attention of even like a child viewer, which is something that possibly the prequels couldn't do. Anyway, I loved all the stuff with Yoda. Frank Oz is amazing. Frank Oz. Yoda's great. I love Yoda. And the whole aspect of Darth Vader in pursuit of the rebels, in pursuit of Han Solo. He's got to have like a little bit of a vendetta against not just Luke and the Empire as a whole. Han Solo, I mean, he has it in for Han Solo. Without really saying it in this whole movie, he's like, I know what you did. You shot my fucking ship at the end of the first movie. I fucking remember. So he has it in for Han Solo, and kind of what he's doing is luring Luke by, putting his friends in trouble. He tortures Han in Cloud City when Lando Calrissian kind of betrays them because the Empire puts him in a kind of a tight spot. I had no choice. Lando Calrissian is great, by the way. But anyway, Darth Vader just so obsessed with his mission this time, taking it really personally, killing all his admirals. They could have just called this Star Wars 2 running out of admirals. Force choking them. Apology accepted, Captain Nida. James Earl Jones just kind of overflowing at the brim with just this maniacal energy as Darth Vader. And I think this is his best vocal performance as Darth Vader in all three of the movies. I think he's spectacular. So he's still evil, but we sense more than even in the first movie his kind of MO. We sense even further with that one scene with the Emperor, whether it is the original version of the guy who kind of looks like a lizard, or whether it is the version with Ian McDiarmid in his makeup talking about Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader going, Anakin Skywalker, who's that? Whatever version, we sense that, yeah, he is kind of small potatoes in comparison to the Empire himself. He even mentions to Luke, like, we can defeat the Emperor, we can rule the galaxy as father and son. Oh, he's his father, by the way, in case you didn't know. So there's that. And so I think it's a great aspect of the character. Bringing the bounty hunters and all that stuff. We have Boba Fett in this movie. Fan favorite Boba Fett. I mean, who doesn't like Boba Fett? He, barely does anything in the whole movie, but he's a fan favorite. Of all the special edition changes, fucking with Boba Fett's voice is just a sin. I hate how they did that. I forget the actor's name, but if he of course is Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones, and he has this Australian accent or New Zealand accent or Kiwi accent, whatever. The original Boba Fett's voice is just so memorable and so great that it's just a sin. It really is. And it worries me and it saddens me that there's a whole new generation of fans who are deprived of this voice. Like, there's fans, maybe, someone my age has kids right now. They pop in the Blu-rays to watch Star Wars. They didn't grow up with it on VHS or anything like that. So they only know the new voice, not the as you wish kind of. I can't really do the Boba Fett voice. I can't do any voices, as you've noticed. But that saddens me greatly. But that's probably the only huge offense to the special edition tinkering of Empire Strikes Back. Everything else was actually really good. Improving on some of the optical effects in the Hoth scene, improving on a lot of the visuals of Cloud City, which Cloud City looks great. Even more so in this edition. So I think that was a change that actually made the movie look even better. And I think, even for the time, if you look at the original version, still the effects in showing that city are great. But I'd say it is an improvement here. And, I think the whole last act in Cloud City is great. We meet Lando Calrissian. There are black people in this galaxy. That's amazing. And Billy D. Williams, I mean, he gives us great performance. He's actually one of my favorite characters just because you got to figure, okay, he has betrayed his friends. Empire, he says they arrived right before Han Solo did. Meanwhile, when we first meet him, he has the fucking nerve to kind of just mind fuck with Han a little bit, like, you dirty son of a gun, why are you coming here? Ah, just kidding. Meanwhile, all this time, he already knows that the Empire's there. So, I don't know. I like kind of the conflict of this once Han Solo-like scoundrel who has this responsibility now in making these tough decisions, and finally kind of letting his conscience get a hold of him, and finally deciding to do some good, which he does, finally at the end of the movie, where he does help them escape. So I love that aspect of the character. So he has his own little arc going on right there. But needless to say, the main driving force, no pun intended, of the movie is the showdown between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. That's what we're waiting for the rapport the whole movie, and it delivers. I mean, we saw the face-off between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader in the first movie, which was fine, which was good, but here it's a whole different level. It's a great lightsaber battle between the two of them. Improved choreography, but without making it feel too choreographed, like the prequels. I think it's just the tops. I think it's the best lightsaber battle in all the Star Wars movies, really. Of course, amounting to Luke getting his hand cut off and somehow not bleeding that much, and the revelation that Darth Vader is indeed his father. So it's a great ending, and they escape, and finally, guess what? They're able to get the Falcon into light speed, and they go away, and they're like, don't worry, we'll get Han. He's in Carbonite, he's with Jabba, we're going to track him down. So there's some hope at the end of the movie, even though it does end on, kind of a, if not a victory of the Empire, then at least a draw. Between the characters, so I mean, there's that, but definitely there's some unfinished business, and I would say this is the middle part. This is the meat of the sandwich, I guess you could say, of the Star Wars trilogy sandwich. So it is the most, succulent, I guess. I don't know, but I think it's just about as perfect as a movie can get. This and the first Star Wars are perfect movies, I feel. So I would rate it 4 stars out of 4. One of the best sequels of all time, and still as entertaining and enthralling and exciting as it was all those years ago, even with some of the special edition nonsense. So I loved it. Maybe my only complaint was that at times C-3PO can get really fucking annoying in this movie. I know, he's nothing compared to, Jar Jar or whatever, but there are some scenes in this movie where they kind of sprinkle in some humor with C-3PO that I thought was a little unnecessary. Meanwhile, okay, Empire's after us, we're trying to get Han. Stupid C-3PO's saying something silly "Oh, I'm backwards," whatever. It's so stupid, but small potatoes in an overall great movie. I just think it's fantastic. I'm sure most people agree. I mean, I don't really need to convert anyone as to how great The Empire Strikes Back is. The Empire Strikes Back is The Empire fucking Strikes Back. One of the best movies of all time. So yeah, that's my review. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to comment, rate, subscribe. I guess I'll be reviewing Return of the Jedi quite soon, so stay tuned for that. And until next time, may the Force be with you, always.